I'm going to tell you how I made my first $1 million. I waited. That's the story. You look disappointed. I can see it. You scoured the internet. You clicked on this provocative title. And you were expecting what? A magic formula, a 5-minute hack, a secret trade I made that no one else saw, a hot tip on the next big thing. That's the first lesson. You also addicted to the how-to that you've forgotten to ask what not to do. You re-obsessed with action. And because of that, you will never have the discipline of inaction. And it is in inaction, in calculated waiting, that the real money, the money that lasts, is made. They sell you the lie of constant motion, hustle, grind, agitate. They tell you that if you aren't sweating, you aren't winning. They've created a cult of exhaustion, where being tired is a status symbol and sleep deprivation is a badge of honor. It's a convenient lie for people who sell productivity courses and ads to anxious people. It is a scam to keep the hamster wheel spinning. I made my million not because I was the fastest, but because I was the most boring. I understood the most unpopular truth in the financial world. Waiting is the most active and profitable form of work that exists. It is the discipline of adults. It's the final test of character. And today, we're going to talk about that discipline, not about the secrets, but about the obvious, which everyone is too stupid to practice. The first thing you need to understand is that the financial market and life is a game of subtraction. It's not about how many brilliant decisions you make. You don't need to be a genius. In fact, being a genius often gets in the way because the genius gets bored. The genius thinks they too smart for simplicity. The genius needs to prove they a genius. So they create complexity. The game is about how many stupid decisions you avoid. And what is the most stupid decision that 99% of people make every single day? Reacting to the media panic, which is paid to scare you. Reacting to your neighbor's euphoria, who is probably lying about his own gains. Reacting to the tweet of a bored billionaire who is just playing games with your money. Reacting to your own boredom, which is perhaps the most expensive impulse a human being can have. People don't lose money because the market is cruel. The market is just a calculator. It is impersonal. It doesn't know who you are, and it doesn't care about your feelings. People lose money because they are impatient. They cannot sit still. They confuse motion with progress. The inability to do nothing, to sit on your hands, is the definition of financial stupidity. I've seen geniuses, people with high IQs, go broke. They could quote complex theories, they could build intricate mathematical models, but they couldn't balance their own temperament. Their problem wasn't their brain, it was their behavior. They could wait. They had what we call an action bias, the compulsive need to do something, even when the smartest thing to do is nothing. I paid this stupidity tax myself. Several times, years ago, I was coming off a failed project. My pride was wounded, and I was in a hurry to make it back. My ego was in the driver's seat. I needed to prove to myself and others that I wasn't a failure. I jumped on the first train that passed, a business that looked good on the surface, but which I hadn't properly researched. Why? Because I felt compelled to act to show motion. Inaction felt like a confession of defeat. 3 months later, the business was dead. I lost $50,000. That money wasn't lost to the market. It was a fee I paid to my own impatience. It was the cost of not knowing how to wait. Waiting is the active, conscious act of filtering out stupidity. It's your firewall against yourself. The modern world is a machine designed to destroy your ability to wait notifications. Price alerts, urgent headlines flashing in red. Don't miss out. Last chance. The train is leaving the station. All of it is noise. Noise designed to make you act. Why? Because when you act, somebody else gets a commission, somebody gets your click, somebody profits from your panic or your greed. You are the product being sold to your own impulsivity. Your impulsive reaction is their profit margin. My million didn't come from one action I took. It came from all the stupid actions I didn't take. I didn't sell in the 2008 panic, when the world looked like it was ending and the experts predicted the end of capitalism. I didn't buy the dot-com hype in 2000, when taxi drivers were giving me stock tips about companies with no earnings and no plan to ever have them. I didn't jump on the latest crypto fad just because I was bored on a Tuesday. While everyone else was doing something, I was waiting. And the waiting paid me dividends far greater than any stock. Waiting is simply sustained rationality, and sustained rationality is rarer than diamonds. Wealth does not reward excitement. It rewards endurance. It rewards tolerated boredom. The market pays people who can sit still while everyone else panics, tweets, or speculates. Most people can do that. They think activity equals progress. In reality, most of the time, activity equals friction. It equals cost. Every unnecessary move erodes capital, just as erosion wears down rock slow. But relentless, every needless trade is a tax you pay to your own impatience. The biggest secret in investing, the secret that Warren and I used for over 50 years, is boredom. We wait. We read annual reports, which are incredibly boring. We read the footnotes. We read the competitors' reports. We do simple math. We wait sometimes for years, sitting on piles of cash, which drives the people on Wall Street crazy. They read missing opportunities. They scream, yes. And we avoiding disasters. We wait for the obvious opportunity, what we call the fat pitch or the no-brainer. And when it shows up, we act with force. But 99% of the time, we are waiting. Everyone wants our results. No one wants our patience. No one wants to do our job, which is, in large part, just reading and waiting. The irony is that discipline does even require suffering. It just requires boredom tolerance. But modern culture has zero tolerance for boredom. People would rather lose money than feel unstimulated. If their portfolio doesn't change in a week, they feel negligent. They call it staying active, optimizing the portfolio. I call it financial self-sabotage. They are fiddling with something that should be left alone. The game isn't about getting rich. It's about staying rational long enough for compounding to do the work. Compounding is the eighth wonder of the world, but it has one non-negotiable ingredient: time. Not just time, but uninterrupted time. And you cannot stay rational. You cannot give compounding that uninterrupted time if you're always craving more faster. Now, the waiting, the boredom, is the price of stability. It's the rent you pay for long-term wealth. But the average human hates boredom. They want excitement in their portfolio and peace in their life without realizing the two do not coexist. If you crave adrenaline, go skydiving. Go to a casino with $100 and lose it all. Don't do it with your retirement money. Don't do it with your future. My million came from being boring. It came from reinvesting dividends instead of spending them. It came from looking at the balance sheet, which is boring, and not the stock chart, which is exciting. It came from sitting on my ass while others were running in circles, paying transaction fees and short-term capital gains taxes. The real financial trap is this. People believe wealth will make them disciplined. It doesn't. It only magnifies who you already are. If you re-impulsive when you re-broke, you be destructive when you re-rich. Money is just an amplifier for your character and your flaws. I remember failing this lesson again in 2016. I had an investment in a solid company. My original thesis, my why, was a 20-year hold. I had done the homework. I understood the business, but the stock dropped 30% in 1 month because of short-term regulatory noise. Instant panic. The media was screaming, end of the sector. My lizard brain took over. My rationality was hijacked by my emotion. I sold, I acted, I protected my capital. What foolishness. I didn't wait. If I had simply shut off the computer, gone fishing for a week, and waited for the noise to pass, if I had trusted my original, boring analysis, that position would be worth $800,000 more today. I paid $800,000 for my inability to tolerate boredom and short-term fear. The waiting would have been free. You want to know the biggest financial trap? It isn't debt, though debt is terrible. It isn't inflation, though it is a quiet thief. It is comfort. The moment people taste a better lifestyle, they confuse it with success. They stop thinking, how can I make my life efficient, and start thinking, how can I keep this comfort level forever? At that exact moment, they become slaves. This is the addiction nobody talks about. Not alcohol, not drugs. Comfort, it kills ambition quietly and makes you rationalize mediocrity. I've seen bright, ambitious people turn into financial zombies because they could not downgrade their lifestyle. They knew the math didn't add up. They knew they were spending too much. They felt the anxiety in their chest at 3 a.m. But pride overruled arithmetic. They couldn't show up in last year. S-car. They couldn't skip the expensive vacation their neighbors were posting about online. They couldn't stop eating out 5 nights a week because it is what successful people do. That's how a $1 million earner ends up broke in 10 years, too proud to live like a sane person. Lifestyle inflation is a polite term for self-sabotage. You don't see the damage immediately because your salary keeps rising. But over time, every upgrade becomes a shackle. A bigger house means higher taxes, more maintenance, more furniture to fill the empty space, more clutter. A luxury car means higher insurance, more expensive repairs, and more stress when someone dings it in the grocery store. The monthly subscriptions pile up like barnacles on the hull of a ship, silently slowing you down. The daily specialty coffee, the gym you don't use, the software you don't need. The irony is that every purchase meant to bring joy usually ends up bringing anxiety. You cannot enjoy freedom when your possessions own you. You aren't living better. You are managing more stuff. Your calendar, once free, is now filled with obligations to pay for the things you bought. You don't own the boat owns you. Waiting taught me to disdain unnecessary comfort. While my peers were trading in their BMWs every year, I was waiting while they were buying the vacation home they would use 3 weeks a year and spend another 4 worrying about maintaining. I was waiting. They weren't becoming free. They were becoming leveraged. They were building golden cages. Each upgrade was just another brick in the prison wall. Financial freedom isn't about how much you earn. It's about how much you keep after taxes, inflation, and stupidity have taken their bite. I call them the 3 silent killers. Waiting is the act of defeating stupidity. It is the act of saying no to lifestyle inflation. My million ends, $1 million I earn. It is $1 million I stopped myself from spending stupidly, and therefore I allowed it to grow uninterrupted. People have very strange ideas about money. They think the game ends when you hit a certain number, 1 million, 5 million, 10 million. The truth is, most people have no idea what they are chasing. They just want more because everyone else wants more. It's envy, pure and simple. And envy is the only capital sin you get no fun out of. You just hurt yourself. I've met men with $10 million who are miserable. They check their portfolio 30 times a day. They don't sleep. They worry about losing the 10 million and how to turn 10 into 20. And I've met men with $200,000 who sleep like babies. Guess which one is richer? It's not about the number. It's about control over your time, your mind, and your obligations. If your money owns you, if you have to keep running just to pay the bills for your lifestyle, you re not rich, you re just well, decorated. If you think you need $10 million to live well, you've already lost. Because you rebuilding a lifestyle that depends on a treadmill at full speed. The right question is, how much money is enough? It is, how much stupidity can you remove from your financial life? True independence is the ability to live below your means without feeling deprived. That is the foundation. Everything else is decoration. People love to complicate money. They turn it into philosophy, psychology, even spirituality. But at its core, money is arithmetic, addition, subtraction, and restraint. My million came from restraint. It came from waiting. It came from understanding that $500,000 can buy you freedom for life. If you treat it like an adult treats fire, carefully. The math is simple, so simple it offends people. $500,000 in conservative investments with a 9% return gives you $45,000 a year. The average person hears $45,000 and panics. I can't live on that. That's because they've built a lifestyle that requires permanent adrenaline to sustain. They've confused the trappings of consumption with the necessities of life. If your idea of comfort includes constant consumption, you have misdefined comfort. $45,000 a year in many parts of the world is enough to live peacefully if you have no debt, if you own your home, and most importantly, if you stop trying to impress strangers. Waiting means understanding the math of enough. Enough is not a dirty word. It is the most powerful word of the financial dictionary. Enough means you've won. More means you are still playing a game you can win. When you know what enough is, you stop running. And when you stop running, you start waiting. And when you wait, compound interest, the most powerful force in the universe, finally has time to work for you. Most people never experience this magic. They interrupt it. They get bored. They want more. They trade quiet freedom for loud validation. They don't know what enough is, and so they are doomed to never have it. People spend their youth trading time for money, then spend their old age trading money for time. They could have skipped the whole loop by learning early what matters most. The million I made by waiting wasn't a million that showed up in 1 year. It was a million that took decades to accumulate. And what did I do during those decades? I avoided haste. Haste is an addiction. Haste is ego. Haste is the fear of being left behind. Haste is your mind telling you that you're smarter than the system, that you can find a shortcut. Waiting is logic. Waiting is confidence in the process. It is the humility to admit that time and compounding are smarter than you are. People overestimate intelligence and underestimate discipline. They think wealth is about IQ, timing, or luck. It isn't it's about temperament. I've met geniuses who couldn't stay solvent. They could quote Keynes, but they could balance a checkbook. Their problem was their brain. It was their behavior. And in investing and in life, behavior beats brilliance every time. Waiting is the physical manifestation of a superior temperament. You don't need to be extraordinary. You just need to be consistently reasonable. But reasonable isn't sexy. Discipline doesn't trend. And patience rarely makes headlines. That is why the world keeps producing clever failures. My waiting system was built on a stubborn refusal to self-destruct. I remember a friend, a brilliant guy, IQ wise, he was investing right alongside me. We had similar theses, but a market correction came, a 10% drop, normal noise. I had dinner with him. He was physically ill with anxiety. His phone was in his hand, refreshing his portfolio every 30 seconds. He told me, I have to get out. I can't stand watching the number go red. I'd rather lose a little now than risk losing more. He was acting out of fear. He sold everything at the bottom. And of course, what does the impatient man do? He tries to make it back. He took what was left and jumped on the next hype. A tech company promising 500% gains. He was in all the Telegram groups, reading white papers he didn't understand. He was acting out of greed. He went from fear to greed in 24 hours. He lost everything. Me, I waited. I did the hardest thing. I didn't look. I went fishing. I trusted my boring analysis from years ago. Years later, the assets he sold out of fear were worth triple. He didn't lose to the market. He lost to his own temperament. while he was chasing the next real estate boom, the next hot stock, the next magic crypto scheme. I was waiting. They call it innovation. I call it sophisticated greed. The faces change. The stupidity does tea. My million is a testament to the idea that you don't need to be right many times. You just need to avoid being catastrophically wrong. And the most catastrophic error is haste. It's interrupting compound interest unnecessarily. Don't do something stupid just because you are bored. That is the golden rule. People love to talk about making money. Almost nobody wants to talk about keeping it. But wealth isn't what you earn. It's what you keep after stupidity, taxes, and inflation have taken their bite. The first rule of compounding is simple. Don't interrupt it. And yet interruption is mankind. His favorite hobby. Wealth is fragile. It takes discipline to build and only one stupid decision to destroy. The higher you climb, the more gravity there is to pull you down. That SY capital preservation is glamorous. It is sacred. It is the foundation of every fortune that lasts longer than a news cycle. Waiting is capital preservation. It is the art of avoiding stupidity year after year, decade after decade. Imagine you have a tree that grows money leaves. Every season it produces 5% new leaves. If you protect the tree, it keeps growing forever. But if you chop at it for quick cash, you'll have firewood for a month and regret for a lifetime. Most people chop their tree the moment it starts producing shade. They can resist spending the yield. And then the principle, they call it enjoying life. I call it economic suicide with good lighting. The worst investors chase return. The best investors chase survival. They know that if they stay in the game long enough, compounding will do the heavy lifting. But you can compound what you've already lost. That is why we avoid leverage like a plague. Leverage makes you look smart until the moment it does, and then it wipes you out completely. One single unexpected event, a black swan, and you are out of the game forever. You cannot wait if you are bankrupt. Waiting means structuring your life so you never have to sell in a panic. If your expenses are low and your patience is high, you can endure any storm. That is real power. Not the ability to predict the market, but the ability to endure it. My million was made because I preferred to make 8% a year forever rather than 20% one year and minus 40% the next. The world loves roller coasters. I prefer railroads. You make more money over a lifetime by avoiding big losses than by chasing big gains. Compounding rewards the cautious. It punishes the reckless. The older I get, the more convinced I am that complexity is a form of stupidity. The kind that hides behind jargon, status, and self-importance. People love to make things complicated because it makes them feel smart. They think using 10 words when one would do proves intelligence. In reality, it proves insecurity. Simplicity is ignorance. It's clarity. It's what remains after they've filtered out the nonsense. People don't need complex financial products. They don't need quantum blockchain or long-tail derivative strategies. They need three things: a decent savings rate, a diversified portfolio, and the ability to sit still. That's it. Everything else is noise, sold by people who profit from your confusion. The million I made by waiting was an act of simplicity. I didn't need quantum algorithms. I didn't need to predict the future. I just bought understandable businesses at fair prices and let time do what it always does, compound. But simplicity is hard because the ego hates it. The human mind craves complexity. It wants to feel in control, and control in finance is the biggest illusion there is. When people say, I understand the market, what they really mean is, I've been lucky so far. Simplicity also applies to lifestyle. People complicate their lives until they can breathe, too many possessions, too many commitments, too much noise, and then they call it success. If your calendar owns you, you are not successful. You are an employee of chaos. Freedom lives in simplicity. My million is not a number, it is a symbol. It is the symbol of a life where I needed less, where I stopped running, where I mastered the art of waiting. This is the moment to turn the key. I've given you the manual. Now, I give you the final action. I will give you the synthesis of the 3 lessons of waiting, so you can print them out and tape them where you make your most critical decisions. Lesson 1. Compound interest is real and it demands calm. It is the most powerful force on your side, but it does not work for the hesitant, for the impatient. It demands time, and time is bought with the action of non-reaction. You aren't losing opportunities by waiting. You are earning the certainty of execution. Lesson 2. Your biggest enemy is your emotion, not the market. The market will do what it does. It will swing, it will scare you, but it cannot hurt you unless you hurt yourself. Waiting is your firewall against stupidity. Lesson 3. Doing less is often doing more. Slow down, pull back, look. Think the next big move isn't about what you're going to start, but about what you're going to stop doing out of impulse now. I did not give you this speech to leave you in a state of reflection. I gave it to inspire you to rational action. I want you to pick one thing, just one thing that you have been doing out of impulse, out of social pressure, out of anxiety. It could be checking your portfolio every hour. It could be opening your email immediately after the notification. It could be answering every work message after hours. And I want you to stop for 30 days. Just stop, observe what happens to your stress level and your clarity of thought. Inaction is a skill. It must be trained. Train it. I want to know, what is the impulsive decision you will stop making today to make room for your long-term million? I want you to comment below. I will wait, and tell me in a few words what you are waiting for, so that the system of time and stability can finally work in your favor. This helps me cut through the hype bubble and find other adult thinkers. If this video gave you the punch in the face you needed to change your temperament, the least you can do is leave a like and share it with that one friend who is running in circles. This might be the intervention they need. The money will come, the peace will come, the solid success will come. You just need to stop getting in your own way. It is simple, it is brutal, and it works. And if you want to continue the training, watch this video here that will help you continue this journey. Thank you for having the patience to stay. Remember, be boring.